Japan, Scotland, has there been a bigger game in pool play for the neutrals in the world?
I mean, most of the goodwill stories, most of the amazing stories that have been around a World Cup, especially the last two, have been about Japan. 2015 beating South Africa, and then what they've done at their own World Cup, and they were phenomenal. And I think, talking about Typhoon Hagibis, they could have, if the game didn't go ahead, everyone knew that Japan had qualified. But they wouldn't have wanted that as a country. They wouldn't have wanted to, the nature of their culture is very hard-working, and, you get what you earn. So they wouldn't have wanted the game to be cancelled to then qualify for the first quarterfinals. They would have wanted to do it the way they've done it, and they've been unbelievable. The performance, you look at the game, and Jim will sum it up a lot better, having been the brains behind the ITV studios.
Did you see me?
You look very good, mate.
Cheers, mate. I like your
watch.
Yeah.
I mean, the accuracy, the fitness, the contact skills, the footwork, the offloading, the crispness of passing, it was just that they were brilliant, weren't they? And, even for Jim, who's a Scottish...
Legend.
I was going to say Scottish man through.
Legend.
I was going to say Scottish man through and through, but we worked out he's not really Scottish and he doesn't really want to be Scottish. You have to stand back and you hear what Stuart Hogg said and the boys. They've just said, look, we weren't good enough, and they've tipped the slipper to Japan. They were phenomenal, weren't they?
Oh, they were class. And in the build up to the game last week, you could hear that I was nervous and I wanted to back my team and I wanted to back my mates, but deep down I knew it was going to be tough. Because having done a lot of research on the World Cup naturally, because I don't know if you know, I've done a bit for ITV. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at teams and then you look back on Scotland's performances and thinking, right, how are they going to beat Japan? So how are they going to beat a team that are as physical and look after the ball and can score tries? And looking at what I'd seen recently, last Six Nations and this World Cup, I didn't know how they were going to beat Japan if Japan played how they played against Ireland. Now, Japan were better than how they played against Ireland, and the build-up you just didn't know whether the build-up was going to be too emotional for them, how they were going to have dealt with that. I thought it would have been better for Scotland with the build-up they'd had with a bit of disruption because it took the edge off it. I mean, you speak to anyone who was in that stadium, the commentators, Flatman said the same, and Nick Mullins, who was there, Scott Hastings, they've never experienced an atmosphere like it. Now, the game lived up to the expectation that it's been building for the last 2 years. And, Scotland could have came back, but Japan, it was no fluke. They were exceptional. Goody mentioned their contact skills. Their contact skills are up there with New Zealand in terms of their ability to look after ball, their ability to get off the gain line.
Offloading out the tackle as well, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like across the board, not just Lafairley at 13 doing it. I'm talking front rowers. Inagaki's try, under the sticks. Just like front row offloading, it was just phenomenal across the board. So they've got the ability to go wide, and Scotland's defence was pretty narrow at times, wasn't it? But it's not just getting the ball into the wide channels. The accuracy of the passing out in front, which gains those extra 5 yards. Then Scotland are retreating more, which then means you can't get on the front foot to make a tackle. And then the offloads. It was brilliant.
So we were talking, you talking about tackling. Scotland's first up tackle to the first 15, 20 minutes were really good. I think Jamie Ritchie at half-time had made 17, 18 tackles before half-time. WP now was on about 16. 16 tackles. And everyone, I don't know what the final outcome was, but everyone spoke about the Wales-Uruguay game, where Uruguay had to make over 200 tackles, or 203 or 209 tackles in the game, and that's a lot of tackles. Scotland had made over 120 in the first half. So I'm looking back at the game, I'm like, what could Scotland have done differently? I actually don't know.